From her wrestling inspirations to her heroes outside of the ring, to the events in her life that have led her to where she is today, WWE's Rhea Ripley is just as interesting out of character as she is exciting to watch between the ropes. Get your black lipstick and grab the nearest guy with a mullet then, because it's time to talk about Mammy. I'm Gareth, this is WhatCulture, and here are 10 fascinating backstage WWE facts about Rhea Ripley. Number 10, she takes after her own mammy. Rhea Ripley was born Demi Bennett on October 11th, 1996 in Adelaide, South Australia. As a child, she enjoyed a variety of sports, before settling on a career in the squared circle by joining local promotion Riot City Wrestling in 2014. There's not much information out there about her early life, particularly who her family are. There were recently seen celebrating with Ripley after she beat Nia Jax at Elimination Chamber in Perth, but other than that, there's not much to go on really. However, Rhea did speak about her mother in an interview with Sporting News in 2019, and let's just say she had interesting things to say about her. "My mom is a very scary human being," she said. "I get a lot of that intensity and snap straight into it from her. She's legit terrifying." The multi-time champion made it clear that she was saying this in good spirits, referring to her mum as a lovely girl, but she also pulled no punches in explaining that when Mama Ripley gets mad, she is a force to be reckoned with. Maybe this is why fans haven't heard much about her. Number 9, a big breakup changed her life. At time of recording, Ripley is currently in a relationship with fellow Aussie and AEW wrestler Buddy Matthews. They've been dating since 2022, and in August 2023, they announced their engagement, which made everyone except Dominic Mysterio very happy. However, like with most people, Rhea's romantic life hasn't always been so peachy. Again, speaking to Sporting News, Ripley revealed that a previous relationship broke down just as she was making a name for herself in WWE. In Ripley's own words, "Before the second Mae Young Classic, I went through a breakup with my partner, who I was with for a few years, and he moved here with me." She explained that this made her very angry with the world, but eventually she used her heartbreak as motivation to progress in her career. "I guess I just stopped caring about what everyone thought because I had so many negative things coming my way. I just started blocking it and was like, I don't care. Then I went out in the Mae Young Classic, the second one, and had that I don't care attitude, and everyone seemed to really get behind it," she said. What a great way of looking at things. But I want to know right now, what has been your favorite WWE Rhea Ripley match so far? Was it her Charlotte Flair war at WrestleMania 39 or something else? You let me know in the comment section down below. Number 8, her unlikely childhood idol. Now this section will make anybody who remembers the Attitude Era feel incredibly old, so apologies in advance. As established, Ripley was born in 1996, so she would have been a young kid during the 2000s. This means that her initial influences were not guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock, or even Trish Stratus or Lita. Instead, Rhea cites none other than The Miz as an inspiration. "I absolutely love him," she told Revolver in 2019. "He's so snarky and that's who I want to be. I want to have cool comebacks and get people to listen to me and be invested in me." Thanks to Miz's longevity, he was still working for WWE when Rhea first arrived on the scene. This has led to some awkward backstage encounters between the two. "He's never brought it up with me though, and I'm terrified for that day because I don't know what I'm gonna say," she told the Under the Ring podcast. Hopefully he'd just say she's awesome, right? Number 7, she borrowed her entrance from a metal singer. One look at the Nightmare will tell you that her favorite type of music is probably not cheesy pop. Ripley is a massive fan of heavy metal, having spent her youth listening to bands like Papa Roach, Motionless in White, and Of Mice and Men. She carries her metalheadness with her in her ring attire too, which looks like it comes straight out of a Judas Priest video, and even her entrance hints at her preferred genre. For a start, her song is sung by Ash Costello, the lead singer of the band New Year's Day. There's also the big old stomp that Ripley does to set off her pyro, which she admits she borrowed from Suicide Silence frontman Mitch Lucker. "Yeah, it's the Lucker stomp," she told Louder Sound in 2023. "I still have my Mitch Lucker memorial shirt that came out ages ago, and it's still my favorite shirt." Lucker sadly passed away in 2012, an event Ripley describes as horrible in the same interview. The fact that she continues to honor his memory every time she makes an entrance is a testament to how important music is to the superstar, and how dearly she holds the memories of her childhood. Brings a tear to your eye. Number 6, she was banned from having upper body tattoos. Ripley has arguably one of the strongest personal brands in WWE today. Her aesthetic is simple. She's a goth chick who loves thick makeup, black leather, and spikes. It gets gets across her character extremely effectively, and it's part of why she's such a big old star. Another part of the star's look is tattoos. Lots and lots and lots of tattoos. According to various sources, Rhea sports around 20 tats all over her body. However, at one point she was not allowed to get any in a certain place. In an interview given to Talk Sport in 2020, Ripley said that she wasn't permitted to have any tattoos on her upper body, per orders from the powers that be. Unfortunately for me, WWE isn't clearing my upper body, she said, before explaining that she wore leg pants so she wouldn't have to get the ink on her legs cleared. Hopefully I can convince people to let me get my arm sleeves and other stuff, but we'll see how that goes, she remarked. Thankfully, WWE did soften up on this rule, and now Rhea's body art is there for all to see, and it's pretty badass. Number 5, her and Tony's matching tattoos. Sticking with tats for now, and all of Rhea's have a story to tell, as they were all chosen for their specific significance to the Eradicator, from reminders of her past to nods to her favourite bands. Ripley's ink is all meticulously laid out, including a nod to a friend with who she came up with in the business. Ripley shares a matching tattoo with current AEW wrestler Tony Storm. The design is a set of Roman numerals, which may look random to the untrained eye, but are actually the date of Evolution, WWE's first all-female pay-per-view from 2018. Rhea wrestled in the show's dark match, retaining the NXT UK Women's Championship over Dakota Kai, while Storm beat Io Shirai to win the Mae Young Classic. Ripley and Storm both share October birthdays and were stars of the early days of NXT UK. Ripley also beat Storm to become the brand's inaugural women's champ, only for Tony to then win it from her at TakeOver Blackpool. Interestingly, Storm's recent feud with Deonna Purrazzo also revolved around matching tattoos. Does that mean we're going to see Ripley to AEW rather soon then? Well, probably not. Number 4, she wanted to get tattooed during a match. This trifecta of tattoo trivia ends with an absolutely insane idea that would have seen Mami get some new ink under utterly bizarre circumstances. Whilst down in NXT, Ripley was involved in a feud with Bianca Belair. She even squared off against the EST on opposing teams in a War Games match, which left both women beaten and scarred. However, if Ripley had gotten her way, Belair would have left an entirely different mark on her body. As she told Flash Morgan Webster on his podcast, the star pitched the idea of her opponent tattooing her with a mechanical needle during a match together. I wanted to get a battery-powered tattoo gun, and I wanted Bianca to rip the fishnet in my pants, and I wanted Bianca to tattoo lips on my leg while everyone held me down, were her words. She then explained that officials suggested that this may not be the most hygienic thing in the world, to which she allegedly responded, "Yeah, true. That is putting it lightly." Cooler heads prevailed, and this mad idea was permanently shelved. Number 3, Beth Phoenix helped her get into the Judgment Day. It might seem like a lifetime ago now, but the early incarnation of Judgment Day looked very different to how it does now. The faction was initially formed by Edge when he recruited Damian Priest at WrestleMania 38. Ripley joined shortly thereafter, but it was only after Finn Balor helped kick Edge out that the stable as it is today began to really take shape. Rhea was a natural fit for the group, already possessing the grungy exterior needed to fit its spooky vibe. Also, she added some depth to their numbers, allowing the mostly male unit to branch out into an entirely different area of the roster. In an interview with WWE's The Bump, Edge's wife Beth Phoenix revealed that it was she who put in a good word for Mami. Who do you think of the female roster who could really benefit from having a bigger platform? Mrs. Copeland was reportedly asked by her husband, who has all of that talent but just hasn't had the opportunity to shine in a big way. Phoenix suggested the young woman from Oz, and the rest is history. Number 2, she's had reconstructive surgery on her ear. As already discussed, Rhea's goth look is an essential part of her character, which is why she wrestles with full makeup, full leather, and a full set of piercings. Unfortunately, this bold decision came back to haunt her during a match with Io Shirai. Whilst challenging the modern-day Io Sky for the NXT Women's Championship in November 2020, Ripley was dealt a grotesque injury after having 5 earrings ripped out during the bout. According to Fightful, she suffered multiple contusions and abrasions on both ears after losing her jewelry, with doctors needing to graft pieces of skin from other parts of her ears to make them look normal again. If anyone needs to be sick, then please vacate the room now. There are buckets outside, probably. I don't know. Unfortunately, this would not be the last time Ripley was done in by her piercings during a match. In 2023, whilst facing Natalya on Raw, Rhea's smiley, a piercing of the inner lip, was completely torn out, leaving her visibly bloody on live TV. You'd have thought she'd learned after the last time time, but clearly not. Number 1, Claudio Castagnoli helped her win a championship. On the December 18, 2019 episode of NXT, Ripley defeated Shayna Baszler to end her mammoth reign with the NXT Women's Championship and become the new top dog in the black and gold. This was vindication for the former NXT UK champion, who had become a massive star on the US brand in a relatively short period of time. This was a truly special moment, one she had a little bit of help in putting together. The finish of Ripley vs Baszler saw the challenger hit the champion with a top rope version of her finisher, the Riptide, to score the pin. Rhea was having trouble working out how to do the move off the top when she got some help from current AEW star Claudio Castagnoli, known in WWE as Cesaro. "My finisher Riptide is hard enough to do in the ring, let alone on 2 little ropes," is what Ripley told Sports Illustrated. "We were at the PC struggling with it and he, Cesaro, came out of nowhere to help." Does that make Ripley a satellite member of the Blackpool Combat Club? Yep, yes it does, just don't tell Buddy. Or Dom. Or anyone.
When the wrestling world lost Bray Wyatt in 2023, I don't think anybody could believe it, and even now in 2024, it still feels like some horrible nightmare. I mean, the man was not only a creative genius, but just go and listen to any story about him from his peers and his friends. He sounded like a lovely guy too. So as always, the best way to keep somebody's memory alive is to just keep talking about them. And given he did have such an influence on wrestling, here's 10 fascinating WWE backstage facts about Bray Wyatt. Number 10, he taught the man about the table. Those familiar with Bray Wyatt's in-ring history won't be surprised if when you do mention him, you also bring up Alexa Bliss. For a long old time, they were joined at the hip. Given that I mentioned the man in the title of this entry, though, means I am, of course, talking about Becky Lynch. And how the hell does that tie in? Well, back in 2016 at the TLC pay-per-view, Becky Lynch was scheduled to defend her SmackDown title against Bliss in a tables match, with Alexa planned to win when she would take Becky and threw her through a table. Obviously. Now, while I'm sure the character of Becky Lynch was very upset about that, the real-life person was a little bit worried, because she had never set up a table before, and she was slightly concerned that she didn't know how to do it. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous, but as someone who has wrestled in these type of matches, I tell you, sometimes those things just don't play ball. Fortunately for her, do you know who was on hand to guide her through it? That's right, it was Bray Wyatt. As detailed by the publication Clutch Point, shortly after Wyatt's death, Becky addressed the Raw crowd off-air to share how he had helped her all those years ago. This is even more nice because on that evening, Bray did have a match of his own, but he still wanted to be the guy to get out of his way to make sure the whole team knew what they were doing. Lynch also said how easy he made all this and what a treat he was to work with. So once again, if that doesn't make you rethink all of this, well, it probably should. Number 9, he helped Blue Pants relax backstage at NXT. Now more commonly known as Leva Bates ever since she left WWE, never forget that in NXT, Blue Pants was over like Rover, the fans loved her. She became a cult favorite on WWE's third brand, and even though she did receive multiple bookings, oddly she was never given an official contract to sign, and that doesn't make any sense. It also ties into what we're going to talk about today, because as you can imagine, Leva did get quite anxious about this, because she didn't want to step on the toes of anybody that was considered a signed talent. This is until, of course, one of these people sat down to strike up a conversation in the cafeteria. That's right, it was Bray Wyatt. While the conversation itself was nothing to really report on, the fact that he did sit down and do this put Leva Bates at ease, and as she has told time and time again, she never forgot this small act of kindness by Bray. I tell you too, there are hundreds of stories like this as well, which just go to show what Bray Wyatt was like away from the screen. Because really what happened here is that he was a main event guy, and he went out of his way to make sure an unsigned wrestler felt more comfortable, and even if he hadn't have done that, I don't think anybody would have even noticed. It's the fact that he did, the man was something special. Number 8, he helped soothe the TNA champion's nerves. So this is another one of these tales, and of all people, it comes from the former Impact World Champion Josh Alexander. He mentioned it on Twitter. As reported by Wrestling Headlines back in 2012, however, Josh was scheduled to appear as an extra in an unnamed WWE event. Even though he was a 7-year veteran by this point, it was also Alexander's first gig for a major televised wrestling company, and as such, he was nervous. I mean, if he wasn't nervous, what a flub would be going on? As Josh himself recounted, though, it was at this point that Bray noticed he was a little out of sorts and took it upon himself to offer some words of encouragement and even welcomed him to WWE. Alexander also mentioned how Wyatt spent the entire day encouraging everyone around him to do the same and to do it with a big smile and a big laugh, and that ultimately, he really was the power of positivity. And yes, this meeting did happen years before Bray became a megastar, but that actually makes it even better. because even after he had achieved all that success, he never changed who he was deep down. Number 7, Bray was a Bo leaver. Bo Dallas's WWE career may have hit a slight snag ever since he was called up to the main roster from NXT, but something that never changed was the respect from his brother. Now, as we have brought up Bo's NXT run, it is important to note this was so darn good. He was a cowardly heel who would fluke his way to the NXT title, and anytime you tried to talk to him, would just say, "Hey man, you better back off and Bo leave in me." It was really quite funny, and a shame we never really did do this when he got the promotion. Even worse, come 2021, he was released. At this point, Dallas kind of decided he was done with wrestling, until a few years went by, and yep, he returned as the mysterious Uncle Howdy. This was all detailed in WWE's heartbreaking Wyatt documentary known as Becoming Immortal. Bo only came back to wrestling because he wanted to be alongside his sibling. Bray was equally thrilled about this because he got to work alongside his family again, and as the boy's father Mike Rotunda discussed on the two-man Power Trip of Wrestling podcast, Wyatt would also say that he believed that Bo was the better in-ring worker. We said it at the beginning of this video. If you want to keep somebody's memory alive, then never stop talking about them. Number 6, he did not appear backstage with Sting as a child. That probably makes no sense. What are we talking about? Well, I'm going to tell you. Because there is a popular photo that has done the rounds of social media of the legend known as Sting, where he is hanging around with two boys that many assume to be the Rotunda brothers. Now you can understand how this did get started because Mike Rotunda was contracted with WCW, and Sting loved it there. I sometimes wonder if World Championship Wrestling had never closed, would the real-life Steve Borden still be there today? Sadly though, I'm here to ruin this dream for you, because it's not true. Because in an Instagram post, Bray Wyatt admitted he had absolutely no idea who these two boys in the photos are, although he was happy to tell you, no, it's not me or my brother. The thing is though, even when he was doing something as simple as debunking a rumor, Wyatt's inherent kindness still shone through. Because in the same post, Bray did reveal that if anybody had come up to him over the years and said, "Hey man, can you sign this picture?" even though he knew it wasn't him, he did it anyway, because why ruin their day? So while it may not be the biggest story in the world, the fact that Bray also said, "I think it's high time these guys step up and take credit for this cool-ass picture of you and Prime Stinger," well, there's just another tick for the box. Sadly, the closest Wyatt got to Sting in a professional capacity was tweeting that if the Oakland Raiders made the 2021 Super Bowl, he would fight Sting at halftime in a chainsaw death match. Now, if you had mentioned that to me 5 years ago, I wouldn't have believed it, but given what Sting did in his last AEW match, well, maybe he probably would have agreed. Number 5, he saved a pair of teenagers' lives and didn't tell anyone. If you have never read former WWE stars JTG's books, I strongly suggest you amend that right now. They are very good. Both of these reads are full of terrific anecdotes about life backstage in the world's biggest wrestling company, but it's the second book that we are going to focus on today. Because JTG does indeed talk about a time that him and Bray were riding a rental car together when a seemingly insane driver tore past them and forced fellow WWE superstars Big E and Alex Riley off the road. JTG and Bray then tried to drive after this reckless driver to see what the hell he was doing, and when they caught up to him, yep, they saw his car barrel rolled off the road in a spectacular crash. Now, despite smoke pouring from the wreck, something JTG admitted terrified him, Wyatt immediately jumped into action and he pulled the driver and the passenger out to safety. JTG helped with this as well because he was emboldened by Wyatt's heroism, and the wrestler then also called an ambulance, especially because these guys were teenagers. They then drove off to their next event without telling anybody until this book did come out, and as JTG wrote, this amazed him because not even Bray's closest friends knew. He had kept it quiet for all those years. He didn't think it was something worth bragging about. Number 4, the Fiend mask was designed by a horror icon. So this is a nice turnaround given what we have talked about in this video so far, because while most entries have been about how Bray was a hero to others, this one is about the time Wyatt got to meet one of his own heroes. Because you will see plenty of photos on the internet of Bray with a man known as Tom Savini, who is an absolute legend when it comes to makeup artistry. Savini is also revered by horror fans as the man who brought to life George Romero's zombies, and as one of the minds behind Jason Voorhees' iconic design. So if you are going to create the Fiend, and you need some kind of a mask, you probably should go cool, good old Tom. Everyone who knew Bray has gone on record and says he was over the moon that Savini agreed to do this, and surprise, surprise, when they did meet, the two became very good friends. If you want to see a heartwarming clip too, you should find Tom Savini on Twitter and see the video of Bray Wyatt playing around in one of his weird chairs. He looks like a kid again, but once again, given what was going to happen after this, probably once again, will break your heart. Number 3, he didn't start out as a promo guy. When one thinks of Bray Wyatt, I would imagine the first wrestling skill you would give him is that he was pretty darn good when you put a microphone in his hand. Even when you didn't understand entirely what he was saying, he still captivated you. And I tell you this, I don't think there will ever be another guy like him. As such, this led people to believe that Bray was a natural gifted orator, but actually, if we go to a Drew McIntyre story, I'm not sure that was entirely true. Because as reported by Comic Book, Drew McIntyre recalled a story back down in FCW when Bray was teamed with another wrestler named Vic Adams. If you're into goofy wrestling like I am, you're gonna love this too, because their gimmick was that they ran a detective agency. No surprise, surprise, it's never made it to the main roster even though it should, but as McIntyre recalled, these pair were terrible on the mic, they didn't really know what they were doing. They also had a terrible sign-off line as well, although I think it's brilliant, because they would look at the camera and both say, "We are back in business." Now, it's important to note this wasn't Drew making fun of Bray and instead was doing the opposite. He was saying how hard Wyatt would work day in, day out, both on his wrestling and his promos, to the point he became one of the best mic guys ever. I mean, that's an inspirational story for anyone. The best part, though, is that like everybody else, the Scottish Warrior also remembered Bray as, and I quote, "the friendliest guy in the world, an amazing gem, and such a brother." He really was taken too soon. I'm still not sure I've entirely got my head around it. But 2, he refused to rehash the Wyatt family due to Brody Lee's passing. It will never make any sense that both Brody Lee, the former Luke Harper, and Bray Wyatt have both passed away by 2024. Because as we know, these two were very, very good friends. You would never get the Wyatt family to work if it wasn't for Harper either, and I throw Eric Rowan in there too, because just seeing them all stand together with their weird creepiness, well, it just worked and it dragged people in. After Lee's tragic passing in 2020 and the fact that Bray was returning to WWE, a bunch of rumors then started that he was going to reunite the Wyatt family. But as he told the Out of Character podcast, he would never do that in a million years, because doing it without Luke Harper would not only be an insult to the man, but the thing would never ever work. Wyatt also wrote a tribute to Brody soon after this when he asked Lee to save me a seat next to you. While that will probably bring tears to your eyes, that's how I like to envision them nowadays, just chatting away and being friends forever. Number 1, his fans meant everything to him. Because there are dozens and dozens of stories on social media about Bray Wyatt seeing random tweets of people asking him to help them with their lives, and my word, he actually went and did it. An especially heartbreaking post came from a father whose late son was a huge fan of Bray Wyatt, so decided one day to DM the man himself. Of course, Wyatt, as well as his wife, did respond and offer their condolences. He even told this individual that he appreciated him sharing his story, because it reminded him why he became a wrestler in the first place, to make people happy. And let's face it, that's exactly what he did. For more proof of this, you can also read the eulogies that were delivered by friends at his funeral, and who every single fan said he'd gone out of his way to put a smile on their face. So Bray was essentially a kind, caring soul who never stopped looking out for others, and whose presence will forever be missed by those who knew him, and even those who didn't.
Cody Rhodes has done it. No matter what happens now, he is at the top of the industry, and he is awesome. Dude's an inspiration. So it seems only right we continue this loving on this day as well. So that's right, my friends. Here's 10 fascinating backstage facts about the American Nightmare. Number 10, he never teamed with Dusty in WWE. Now, this was actually possible. If you go and Google your life away, you will see that father Dusty and son Cody teamed together in OVW in front of 1,500 people to face Idol Stevens and Casey James, one of which was the future Damien Sandow. So that's quite the show to say you attended, and yep, it was the one and only event where they did unite to fight. Sure, the American Dream's best days were behind him, but he still had 3 more matches after this. I'd have found a way to get it on proper TV. Of course, Dusty would say goodbye properly after a bull rope scrap, and Cody was there to do a run-in. And thank goodness we did get that angle on TV, where all the Rhodes family got together to run amok. It almost means more today. We should have done more with it. Number 9, he won the OVW tag titles with Shawn Spears. And if you've ever wondered why they are friends, well, it likely starts here. Because before Cody won the OVW heavyweight title that he had for just a day before losing it to Paul Burchill, Rose did team with the not yet Ty Dillinger to become the Southern Tag Team Champions. They beat the Untouchables, who would also go on to become Deuce and Dominoes for those keeping notes. And from there, it all went a little bit weird. Because you see, Rhodes was called up and joined forces with Randy Orton, which is pretty good, whereas Shawn was super kicked by the Heartbreak Kid in a backstage skit, left WWE before coming back as Mr. 10 and getting himself madly over. So I tell you, 2007 was a wild time to be a developmental wrestler. I don't think there were any rules at all. Number 8, he was meant to win Money in the Bank. Twice. That's right. Now, lots of people do have this story, but I don't think that makes it any easier. Winning the magic briefcase has sent some people to the moon. It started in 2012 when Cody has said he was informed that Money in the Bank was going to be his that year, when on the day of the thing, it changed. Dolph Ziggler got the nod instead. It then repeated itself in 2013 as Rhodes was told they'd make up for 12 months ago, and then it turned out it was actually going to his tag partner Damien Sandow. To be fair, Damien got screwed over by John Cena in that madness, so maybe Cody did dodge a bullet, although it wasn't that great for Rhodes either. Soon after, he was gonna become Stardust. What the hell were we doing? Number 7, he's been in 3 WrestleMania Intercontinental title matches. There was a time, if you can believe it, where the Intercontinental Championship was treated like it was a criminal. I mean, it vanished for a while, was passed around the place with no clue, and sometimes wasn't even defended at WrestleMania. This was really stupid. This is why Cody Rhodes' run with it here deserves a shout out, because he was witnessing this in real time and yet still managed to put the IC belt on the line 3 times at the show of shows. The one he did with the Big Show was weird because we were trying to manufacture a Mania moment for the Giant, whereas the other 2 were part of ladder matches. I'm sure Cody wasn't having the best time either because he was Stardust, and also, he never got the win. That went to Daniel Bryan and Zack Ryder respectively. This was of course WrestleMania 32 when Rhodes left WWE soon afterwards. And we all know what happened next. Number 6, WWE owned the Rhodes name. Once upon a time, Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley showed up in TNA, and rather than be the Dudley Boys, they were called Team 3D. People were miffed by this, but it was nice and simple. WWE owned their name, so tough luck. It was the same for Cody, which felt a little bit lame, as Dusty Rhodes had been Dusty Rhodes for ages before he even stepped foot in a WWE ring. This is just how the industry goes. The silliness continued because we all kept calling him Cody Rhodes anyway, even though officially he was just Cody. Remember all that? It was an odd time. Thankfully in 2020, WWE quietly let the trademark expire and all was right again. It was quite funny if you were watching the TV. All of a sudden, Cody had his surname back. Don't worry about how, he just did. Number 5, Scorpio Sky is his cousin-in-law. Well, who knew? I mean, they did, I suppose. I don't think we're breaking any news to them. You can even debate whether a cousin-in-law is a real thing. You can do that in the comments below. But when Cody married Brandy Rhodes, or the real-life Erin Styles, there was a connection with Scorpio Sky because, yep, he's Brandy's cousin. Most people forget Sky was also in the WWE as Harold, or somebody making up the numbers in those Daniel Bryan and Kane anger management skits, before he got released in 2012. Scorpio still had a cameo a year later where he was part of the Fire Crew when Kane took on Bray Wyatt in a Ring of Fire match, before he did properly leave, and he smashed it all over the place. I'm going to take a wild guess and say he also visits the Rhodes for Thanksgiving dinner too. Isn't that a lovely image? Yes. Yes, it is. Number 4, that entrance theme. Kingdom by the band Downstate has become iconic. When Cody returned to the WWE at WrestleMania 38 and this song started to play, people lost it, which was the point. Rhodes knew the power of that tune, and not just because he had started using it when he began his independent journey. He was all in on this too, as he used it in TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan, and when AEW started. And go and listen to the lyrics. They ain't random words. Basically, Rhodes shouting about how he was treated during his first WWE run. You can hear it during all of his indie appearances as well, including when he was a regular in WCPW. That's why it was so nuts when WWE agreed they wouldn't change it. I don't think the comeback is as impactful without it. Number 3, the weak link in the legacy. This is likely slightly unfair, but yeah. When WWE did team together Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase Jr., on paper, Cody was seen as the number 3 guy in the group. Another reason he got so pissed off, no doubt. The rumor was always to try and build 2 stars, but that Ted had the bigger upside, which is why DiBiase was given promo time on day 1. Trying to get him over. When they all clashed in the 2010 Elimination Chamber, it was Ted that got the pin over Orton too, with Cody being the dude who passed him the pipe to whack the Viper in the head. It then happened again during that WrestleMania triple threat where Randy pinned Rhodes to win it, so all was clear, the hierarchy had been decided on. As we know, that's not how wrestling works though, because there's no question who the bigger star is. Hell, Cody is one of the biggest there is. It is still true that both were gone far sooner than fans expected, with Ted DiBiase leaving the industry entirely. All things considered, not sure he'll ever come back now. I suppose he doesn't want to either. Number 2, he lost 41 consecutive matches in 2016. Do you want another reason why Cody Rhodes was sick of Stardust and saw the writing on the wall? Well, just listen to what I said. 41 times Cody was booked to lose in 2016, and when that happens back to back, the fans aren't stupid. They know what that means, and whether they want to or not, they kind of start to check out on a performer. Go listen to Dolph Ziggler talk about this. He knows too. Obviously, a large number of these were at house shows, which you can argue don't count, but I bet they did to Cody. Here he was with dreams of main eventing WrestleMania, and he can't even get a W when the cameras are off. I think WWE still knew that he had some value on TV, because Stardust was always featured in world title tournaments, but it's fair to say after a while, he was just another body. Sucks. The final straw, I assume, was when he lost in the Greensboro Coliseum, which just so happened to be the same venue where in 1984, Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes fought for the NWA World title. What a full circle moment that must have been. Number 1, he wrestled in 36 different promotions in 2017. So never say that Cody didn't have a plan. It's my word, he did. Betting on himself, he marched into the outside world of WWE and just refused to accept no for an answer. He was going to work and prove everybody wrong. Mission success. Do not forget there's only 52 weeks in a calendar year, so Rhodes was just on fire as he went here, there, and everywhere, including going all the way to the east with New Japan and all the way back to the west with Ring of Honor, WXW, and anywhere else that had 3 initials. If you want to call Cody the king of the indies at this point, you certainly can. And it also saw amazing matches such as him versus Jay Lethal, Adam Cole, Keith Lee, Kurt Angle, Ricochet, Scorpio Sky, Swerve Strickland, and a bunch more recognizable names. Given the lay of the land today, I doubt anybody else will be able to do this because WWE and AEW are so strong, which means Cody really did help pave the way for all of this. Just to sing our own praises too, yes, 8 of these contests were in WCPW. My word, he helped everyone.
From friendships, controversies, injuries, and heartbreaks, the wrestling legend that is Kevin Owens has been through an awful lot behind the scenes, and these stories right here will reveal a ton about the person behind the in-ring persona and deepen your appreciation for KO as a wrestler. I'm Gareth, you're watching WhatCulture Wrestling, and here are 10 behind-the-scenes stories about Kevin Owens you should know. Number 10, his beef with CM Punk in Ring of Honor. During an interview with Daily Mail to promote the Bash in Berlin event, Kevin Owens had some interesting words about his relationship with CM Punk and claimed they were not friends. Well, join the list. Owens stated that they had no reason to talk unless they had to work with each other in the future. And while Owens' comments might seem straightforward, some fans can't help but recognize a bit of resentment that Owens might hold towards the Punker. While the two have never competed against each other, they did work under the same roof during their time in Ring of Honor. When Owens started in ROH around 2005, CM Punk was already a prominent member of the roster and a locker room leader and trainer. Punk reportedly had some problems with the fact that Kevin was wrestling in a t-shirt. Punk wanted Owens to compete in a singlet, and when the word got out to the latter, he wore a singlet in one of his matches. When he got to the back, he reportedly said to Punk, "Are you happy now?" which resulted in a brief verbal altercation between the two. While it's a bit surprising the two have never shared the ring before, that is crazy, that might very much change in the coming months, and may have already gone down before this video has even landed on YouTube. That does tend to happen. They definitely have the perfect backstory to build a heated rivalry down the road. What feud do you want to see in WWE in 2025, folks? CM Punk versus Kevin Owens? Something else? You let me know down below in the comments. Number 9, Paul Heyman advised Owens to threaten to quit WWE for getting left out of WrestleMania 35. Competing at WrestleMania is a great addition to a wrestler's resume, and WWE stars work very hard throughout the year to make the card for the grandest stage of them all. It's a big old night. Hell, it's the biggest night of the year in wrestling. However, not everyone makes the final cut, as some superstars just have to settle for being mere spectators. Fans never expected Kevin Owens to be in that position. I mean, it's Kevin Owens. However, that is exactly what happened, as WWE excluded him from the WrestleMania 35 card. Owens competed in high-profile matches in the previous 3 editions, but WWE had to leave him out in 2019. WWE reportedly considered Owens for the WWE Championship match against Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 35. But since Kofi Mania took the company by storm, they just had to go with Kofi Kingston and couldn't find a spot for Owens on the card. The prizefighter was not a fan of this decision, and when he talked to Paul Heyman about being left off the show, the Hall of Famer reportedly told him to threaten to quit the company if he wasn't included in the event. However, Owens didn't go with Heyman's advice and decided to simply take the L and sit it out that year, which turned out to be the right decision in the end, as he went on to compete in all the WrestleManias after that, and even headlined the first nights of WrestleMania 38 and 39. Number 8, Brock Lesnar once refused to work with Kevin Owens. When a wrestler reaches a certain level of star power, their value increases within the promotion, and they can expect a surge in monetary benefits, backstage influence, and creative freedom. Multiply that by 10, and that's the amount of power that Brock Lesnar had throughout his second run with WWE. And that is why he could refuse to work with certain wrestlers in the company, including the likes of Bray Wyatt, Jinder Mahal, and yes, Kevin Owens. Lesnar is all for business, but he is known for straight out refusing to work with certain wrestlers if he didn't see the value in it. And that's how he reportedly felt when WWE presented him with the choice of working with Owens. WWE's VP of Live Events and Hall of Famer Road Dogg revealed this information while talking on his podcast. While he didn't share many details about when Lesnar had refused to work with Owens, the timeline seems to match with WrestleMania 32. Owens had expressed his wish to face Brock Lesnar at the event, and people also started speculating about the possibility. But everything went quiet after a while, as WWE ended up booking Lesnar to face Dean Ambrose instead. What a match. And Owens competed in the 7-way Intercontinental Championship ladder match. However, the two superstars did have a singles match at a house show in March 2017 in the end, and then competed in the WWE Championship Fatal 5-way match at the 2022 Day 1 event. Number 7, he and Sami Zayn got kicked off WWE's European tour in 2017. The 2017 Hell in a Cell event witnessed Sami Zayn turning heel to reunite with his longtime best pal, Kevin Owens. The two superstars went on to have an excellent run as heels in the following months, but also landed in some trouble with the WWE officials for misconduct during the company's European tour in November 2017. Naughty boys. The controversy took place during the 7th of November 2017 episode of SmackDown, where Sami Zayn took on Kofi Kingston in a singles match. The original plan was for Owens and Zayn to take a beating from the New Day after the contest, but the two reportedly went into business for themselves and walked away from ringside instead of sticking to the plan. The duo soon found themselves in hot water with the backstage executives and even got sent home from the tour. However, they didn't receive any harsh punishment in terms of booking and continued their feud with Shane McMahon, and even went on to pick up a victory against Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura at the 2017 Clash of Champions event. Number 6, Owens was unhappy with his singles run between 2015 and 2017. So in WWE, Kevin Owens experienced the most successful period of his career as a singles performer between 2015 and 2017 in terms of title reigns, as he held the NXT, Intercontinental, United States, and Universal Championships. However, despite these accolades, Owens has admitted that he was not exactly happy with his run during that time. During an interview with CBS Sports to promote the Bash in Berlin event, Owens recalled that he continued to obsess over what's next and wanted to do more despite stacking up all the accolades. He also stated that the 5-month break after undergoing double knee surgery helped put things in perspective. Owens mentioned that he called Shawn Michaels out of the blue to discuss the issue, and the Hall of Famer was kind enough to listen to him and provide valuable advice. Michaels told him he also felt the same way throughout his career, obsessing over what was next instead of just enjoying the ride. He further stated that the conversation with Michaels helped him change his perspective, and expressed how the advice very much worked, as he went on to face Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 38 and win the tag team titles with his pal Sami Zayn at WrestleMania 39. Hey, just enjoy the ride, folks. We only get one go. If you're enjoying this ride right here, then tap on that subscribe button down below for more of these WhatCulture wrestling videos. If you thought this was good, you ain't seen nothing yet. Number 5, the advice he got from Steve Austin before joining WWE. As we've already mentioned, Kevin Owens main evented WrestleMania for the very first time when he took on Stone Cold Steve Austin in an impromptu match on night 1 of WrestleMania 38. However, that wasn't actually the first time the two superstars interacted, as years before that match ever happened, Owens met Steve Austin and got some valuable advice, which turned out to define his career. While appearing on an A&E biography special on Austin, Kevin Owens recalled the time that he and Sami Zayn met the Hall of Famer at an airport. It was while the two of them were making strides on the independent circuit, and they were waiting in the airport to board their third flight of the day when Owens saw Stone Cold. He woke up Sami Zayn, who was sleeping on the ground, and the latter woke up in a panic, thinking that Owens had gotten into a fight with someone and was ready to throw hands. I mean, it does say it on his t-shirt. After realizing what was actually happening, he and Owens went to Austin and introduced themselves as independent wrestlers. They talked for 10 minutes, and when Owens asked him for some advice, Austin told him to learn how to run his mouth. Owens took that to heart and upped his promo game over the years to become one of the best mic workers in the industry. And he used those same promo skills to goad Austin into a match at WrestleMania 38. That is pretty cool. Number 4, Vince McMahon chewed out Owens backstage at WrestleMania 33. Kevin Owens' run as Universal Champion received mixed reviews from fans and critics alike. But the saving grace of the entire reign was Owens' on-screen friendship with Chris Jericho. Their chemistry and comedic timing helped the storyline an awful lot, and fans just generally enjoyed having them on their screens, really, even when the world title run was being fumbled a bit. Now, it was evident from the very beginning that one of them would betray the other at the end, and the Festival of Friendship segment turned out to be the moment that Kevin Owens turned on Jericho. This friendship then turned into a bitter rivalry, which resulted in Jericho defending the United States Championship against Owens at WrestleMania 33. The match wasn't exactly 5 stars, but the two had a decent outing in a 60-minute contest that saw Owens defeat Jericho to become the new champion. However, Jericho recalled during an interview that Vince McMahon was not happy with Owens' performance in the match. When the latter went backstage, McMahon chewed him out, as seen on KO's 365 Network special, and said that was the worst match in WrestleMania history. Bit harsh. But when Jericho walked through the curtains, McMahon gave him a thumbs up. Jericho deduced that McMahon must have been on Owens' case because he felt he needed to lose some extra weight, or was unhappy with his work as a heel. The match was not anywhere close to being the worst in WrestleMania history, but it looks like McMahon was just trying to make a point to Owens that he needed to improve his game. That's one way of doing it, I guess. Number 3, he claims he never wants to win the Intercontinental Championship again. Kevin Owens has won the Intercontinental Championship 2 times in his career, and it was the first major singles championship he won after joining the main roster in 2015. However, the prizefighter has claimed that he never wants to win the title again, and has an interesting reason behind his decision. Owens idolized the Hart family growing up, and they were one of the main reasons behind him developing a passion for the sport. He even named his son Owen as a tribute to the late Owen Hart, and his in-ring name in WWE is a tribute to both his son and Owen Hart. The combined days for Kevin Owens' 2 Intercontinental Championship runs comes to 132 days, which is the exact same for Owen Hart. Hart had won the title twice in 1997, with a combined length being 132 days. Wrestling statistics work in strange ways, folks, but Owens wants to make sure that this stat stays intact for good. Owens claimed that he has conflicting feelings about the Intercontinental Championship, as he would love to win back the title, but doesn't want to break the similarity that he shares with his childhood hero. That's a cool stat, KO. You can win other belts. Number 2, he introduced Cody Rhodes to the independent circuit. Cody Rhodes' exit from WWE in 2016 turned into a canon event in the pro wrestling industry, as he reinvented himself on the independent circuit, made friends along the way, and became instrumental in building a viable competition for WWE in All Elite Wrestling. However, most people don't know that Kevin Owens played a small but significant role in these events. Growing up in an influential wrestling family, Cody Rhodes found the direct way to WWE, and didn't spend any time on the independent circuit like most wrestlers. So when he ultimately chose to leave WWE in 2016, it was Kevin Owens who introduced him to the independent scenes and introduced him to the Young Bucks too. What happened next was a sequence of events that transformed Cody Rhodes' career and the pro wrestling industry as a whole, as the American Nightmare went on to help put together the 2018 All In event, which was the largest independent wrestling event in history. One thing led to another, and along with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, Rhodes got in touch with Tony Khan, and, well, the rest is history. It's safe to say then that Kevin Owens is the anchor being of this entire story. That's an MCU reference, I do not blame you if you didn't get it. Number 1, getting the stunner as his finisher. Kevin Owens used the pop-up powerbomb as his finishing move for most of his time in WWE until 2019, when he surprised the fans by adopting the stunner as his new finisher. Made famous by Stone Cold Steve Austin, the stunner became so synonymous with the Texas Rattlesnakes character that WWE didn't let anyone use the move after his retirement. But things changed in 2019 when WWE allowed Kevin Owens to use the iconic move, and the prizefighter revealed how he managed to do that during an interview with Fightful. Owens stated that he'd had the idea since around 2016-2017, as he needed a unique finisher after feeling that everyone was using similar moves to a powerbomb. He spoke to Austin about using the stunner, and the latter was happy to say yes, and told him that he had been waiting for a long time for someone to come and talk to him about this. Owen then took it through the proper channel in WWE to get the approval, but the company executives felt it was not the right time. Boo! It took Owens some more waiting and convincing before WWE finally allowed him to use the stunner as his finisher in 2019. Yep, that was definitely a wise choice. It just took too long, damn it.
Over the last decade, Charlotte Flair has become one of the, if not the single most prominent female figure in WWE. And along the road to the top where she's found her throne, there have been a lot of interesting bumps along the way. I'm Si for WhatCulture Wrestling, and these are 10 fascinating WWE backstage facts about Charlotte Flair. Number 10, making up for lost time. Though Charlotte Flair has mostly remained tight-lipped on the worst of times between her and Becky Lynch during their falling out, and that infamously awful 2021 belt-swapping segment on SmackDown, Lynch has spoken enough for the both of them in a recently released autobiography, as well as in interviews following their on-screen reunion ahead of the 2023 Survivor Series. Speaking to the Getting Over podcast, she said that their burying of the hatchet may have been partly inspired, rather darkly but totally understandably, by mortality, citing the tragic passings of the likes of Brody Lee and Bray Wyatt, as well as other personal tragedies, as helping her realise that, quote, petty differences aren't worth the toxicity it leaves in you and the weight that it carries. The two worked together for the first time in 2 years as part of the Women's War Games match, and Lynch has since noted that it was important for the both of them. Number 9, the insane story of her 2022 women's title win. Charlotte Flair's December 2022 return to TV felt like bait for those who had often felt she'd carried the golden ticket for title shots around everywhere she went. After months off television, the Queen returned to challenge and beat Ronda Rousey in an impromptu SmackDown Women's Championship match after the baddest woman on the planet had just endured a war with Raquel Rodriguez. Per Ronda, this was her call entirely. Writing in her autobiography Our Fight, she described the event, which kicked off with her informing Charlotte she would win earlier that day, to which Flair pointed out she didn't have her gear with her. As such, someone was sent to make the 2.5-hour round-trip drive to her house to go and get it. Adding that it was make or break for her in the company at the time, Rousey described this not as a request but as a demand, and one that was palpable enough that she felt her unspoken message was felt by creative. In her words, if I didn't get my way this time, I was going to walk. The whole thing was just 41 seconds, making it Flair's quickest title win of the 14 she's amassed. Number 8, just what happened in that Nia Jax match. Few who saw it will forget the legendarily odd breakdown in communication between Charlotte Flair and Nia Jax during the September 30th, 2021 edition of Monday Night Raw. The company had only been back in front of fans for a few months, so perhaps the pair thought that this moment could be reshot, as many had no doubt been before in the Thunderdome. Or more accurately, the red mist descended and bombs were lobbed. The two of them didn't remotely try and hide it. There appeared to be genuine animosity between them, so much so that they appeared to be sandbagging each other as a way to work through the obvious tension. After some uncooperative and subsequently ugly exchanges, they were brought back to reality, or, wrestling's version of it, long enough for Jax to defeat the Queen and set up a rematch for her Raw Women's Championship the following week. Although people were way more interested in talking about this in-ring breakdown more than the title match for obvious reasons. Number 7, she took issue with a Ric Flair WWE lawsuit. Charlotte Flair has shared a complex relationship with her father on screen over the years, with the two temporarily working together in a wrestler and manager capacity before the Queen kicked the Nature Boy to the curb in 2016. He later sided with Sasha Banks as part of an ongoing program between the Horsewomen, and Ric's gradual drop in appearances ever since have diminished the need for them to appear together. However, this was all made worse by a real lawsuit filed by the paternal Flair in 2018 against WWE relating directly to his daughter's big big feud at the time. Rick elected to file a suit over Charlotte's main rival Becky Lynch, referring to herself as the Man, something he admitted made Charlotte mad. Speaking to TMZ, Rick said that he owned the trademark to that, after all it's the title of his book, and that he threatened Triple H with a lawsuit over it. Rick assumed that Charlotte's apparent anger had something to do with Becky's new gimmick, which he assured her was not the case. But let's face it, Charlotte was likely understandably more mad that her dad was meddling in a very hot feud. Nothing ultimately came of it, though later Rick noted in 2022 that he remained annoyed that the trademark wasn't passed down to his children after Lynch's branding went on to be so successful. Number 6, the Queen brings the numbers. Charlotte Flair has batted back accusations of being a female Roman Reigns in the Roman wins lol kind of way, but a deep dive into the statistics paints a picture of a performer working to keep her spots. An excellent example of the value of reps, the Queen repeatedly ascended to her throne in part due to how often she laces up her boots. Of course, please consider the numbers here as of speaking, because a return at any moment could skew the figures even more in her favour, but with a bit of rounding up, Flair can boast one match every 4 days since she first debuted in 2012. When a couple of injury breaks are deducted from the total, the average gets even bigger. Flair was something of a prodigy, racing from having never taken a bump in her life to working nightly on the main roster in under 3 years, and the multiple title reigns she amassed came with the attendant workload. Though not exactly on par with the brutal schedule her father and others like him kept in years gone by, on average 90 matches a year is some going for a wrestler that has thankfully experienced a slightly kinder house show calendar due to and following the global pandemic. Number 5, and the numbers don't lie. Arguments around overexposure, particularly during Vince McMahon's latter years, were always more about the creative usage of the characters rather than wins and losses. And the reason it's worth applying nuance rather than numbers to the discussion is revealed when reviewing Charlotte's win-loss record. For all of Flair's constantly being dogged with criticisms of being overpushed or used in spots she theoretically didn't warrant, she doesn't hold a record that particularly reflects the favoritism. At the time of speaking, according to the Internet Wrestling Database, she has a 55.86% win record, which speaks more to the company's classic 50-50 booking pattern more than anything else. So strictly speaking on a statistical level, Flair wins lol isn't true, and if anything it says a lot about the company's horrid fear of creating a dominant star through wins and still having audiences tire of certain stars by simply overexposing them. That's all to say, for somebody considered the Queen, she's had less of a problem surrendering her crown than it might often have appeared. Number 4, the Performance Center's greatest graduate? The WWE Performance Center was unveiled in 2013. Amongst other things, it was Triple H's attempt to fix an entirely broken developmental system as previously overseen by the endlessly useless John Laurinaitis. Over a decade in, it's kind of hard to judge if it's been a success or not. The hit rate is not particularly high when it comes to ground-up prospects, because the figures are particularly skewed thanks to Triple H's recruitment policy during the 2016 to 2019 post-Golden era of NXT. This was when the best of the American independent scene was raided in an effort to make the market leader's developmental look more credible. Of course, that philosophy has shifted since the Wednesday Night Wars, and the present-day next-in-line system brings in people from athletic backgrounds to see if they can adapt to the rigors of the ring. This might as well be known as the Charlotte Flair model. A prodigious volleyball player at university level alongside time spent as a personal trainer, Flair had more than just the right DNA for pro wrestling. That she grasped it like she did realistically set the standard too high for most others to follow, but only Bianca Belair and Braun Strowman being able to go from amateurs to all-stars. Number 3, the Grand Slam nobody else can ever win. Wrestling careers last longer now, and overall that's a good thing for the health, wealth and happiness of the stars. If you're a record keeper though, it means for some shifting goalposts. Superstars move between brands, dip in and out of teams and navigate through multiple title reigns. Even within the fiction of pro wrestling, belts are very real acknowledgements of jobs well done, but the more there are, the less special some particular prizes feel. It's why when you have something nobody else has or can ever have, you've left an extra large mark. Flair is one of a select few to have the Raw Women's Championship, the SmackDown Women's Championship, the Women's Tag Team Championship and a Royal Rumble win to her name, and may yet win a Money in the Bank briefcase to join Bayley in an even more exclusive club. However, she's the sole occupant of another page in the record books thanks to the Divas title she won that was retired at WrestleMania 32. The butterfly belt was very much part of the furniture at this point when Flair was called up alongside two of her fellow fellow Four Horsewomen in 2015. The Queen was the only one of the group to hold the silver and pink strap until it was finally replaced. Number 2, a real-life relationship resulted in a fictional tag team breakup. Despite years of doing otherwise, WWE has more recently worked to keep real-life partners together whenever a draft or superstar shake-up rolls around. These compromises are typically so effortless that it speaks to the sociopathic cruelty of Vince McMahon in the first place to even not try and make these arrangements, but one such case in 2019 did result in the dissolution of a fairly popular tag team. Having been called up to the main roster without much forethought, Aleister Black and Ricochet were paired together and unsurprisingly had excellent chemistry. I mean, they're both brilliant. Their NXT TakeOver New York opener opposite the War Raiders may be one of the most underrated doubles matches in company history, and it looked as though they were going to continue in that vein until real-life relationships resulted in a parting of the ways, one of which was Charlotte Flair's with Andrade. El Idolo was associated on screen with Zelina Vega at this time. They were moving to SmackDown, as such, so were Charlotte Flair and Aleister Black to keep them with their partners. However, it was decided that the one and only Ricochet was needed for the Red brand, meaning that by this convoluted route, the team were split and never spoken about again. And number 1, the secret controversy behind a WrestleMania classic. At WrestleMania 39, Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley earned rave reviews for their SmackDown Women's Championship clash. It was the sort of match that the Queen typically thrived in, hard-hitting beyond even the regular brutality expected from both. The attritional war was the making of Ripley exactly 3 years on from Flair's controversial NXT Championship victory over her at 2020's cursed pandemic-era Mania. Their rematch was a WrestleMania classic in the making, and it shared something in common with another one too, in that it ran over time at the card's expense. Coming full circle, this is according to Ronda Rousey's autobiography. Her claim that it went 20 minutes past time is presumably off because the whole thing went just over 23 minutes as it was. But like Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon's ladder match at WrestleMania 10, a bona fide classic caused issues elsewhere on the show. Allegedly, the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens lost some of its time, which at least doesn't seem as harsh on the talent as 1994's indiscretion. That resulted in a 10-man tag match being completely cut from the show, with Michaels and Ramon earning some stern words from Randy Savage for costing their colleagues a major payday. Rousey noted only Rhea suffered a consequence this time around, temporarily wrestling less and working more at ringside for the Judgment Day until her sentence was served.
The legendary Adam Copeland has collected and been a part of many interesting backstage facts and stories over the last few decades that even die-hard fans might have missed. You think you know him? Well, you're about to learn so much more about the Rated R superstar, my friends. Because I am Gareth, this is WhatCulture Wrestling, and here are 10 fascinating backstage facts about Edge. Number 10, he got into a fistfight with Christian over a video game. It's no secret that Edge and Christian are the absolute best of buds. Off-screen, that is. But their brother-like relationship has not been free of infighting, as they once came to blows over a serious issue. NHL 94, of course. Edge discussed this incident on an episode of the Steve Dangle podcast. He claimed that he and Christian once had an intense fistfight after playing the National Hockey League game, which got so serious that they flipped themselves over a pool table. According to Copeland, Christian is a terrible winner and a sore loser. With this skirmish, which probably counts as their first match, right? Resulting from this competitiveness. Hilariously, the story continued even after the fight concluded. After Christian stormed out post-battle, Edge chased him in his car and called for him to come back, trying to stop them, in his own words, breaking up over a video game. Copeland described this dramatic scene as straight out of an 80s Molly Ringwald movie. Thankfully, they worked past this little blip and are now the best of friends in All Elite Wrestling. Yep. Number 9, he once wrestled in a barn. Wrestling is a tough business, a tough business. Making it in the industry is nothing more than a dream for most, with many talented wrestlers stuck performing in bingo halls and gyms. Even legends like Edge had to pay their dues before making it big. As such, he has wrestled in some strange places, one of which was an actual barn. In an early career interview for the Canadian press, Copeland talked about his struggles to make ends meet during his pre-WWF career. "I wrestled in a barn in Tennessee in front of 6 people and ate a can of tuna a day," said Copeland. He then expanded by claiming that this was a necessary part of his career, as he thought it was important to go pretty much anywhere you can find work. Nowadays, it's hard to think of a time when Edge wasn't a massive deal. Thus, this incredibly humbling start to his career is a testament to the power of hard work, perseverance, and struggle. And what's the other? Oh yeah, grit. Now I've got a quick question for you while we're on the subject of Edge in general. What is your favorite rated R superstar match of all time? You let me know in the comments section right down below. Number 8, the name Edge was inspired by a radio station. What is in a name? Well, quite a lot actually, especially for a wrestler. Nobody will chant for you if you've got a terrible moniker. But Adam Copeland struck a winner with the name Edge. So where did it come from? Was he a big fan of U2? Did he just love geometry? No, the origins of Edge are far simpler than that. Copeland began his wrestling career using names like Sexton Hardcastle and Adam Impact, as well as a short stint as Damon Stryker in WCW. But he needed a fresh title after being officially signed by the WWF, and came up with the name Edge. Copeland revealed this name's origins in an interview with Fox News, claiming it came from a radio station. He stated that he and Don Callis were driving together and listening to Edge 10-something, and this struck a chord with Copeland, who thought the name had a bit of a rock and roll feel to it. So he suggested it, and it stuck. In the same interview, he claimed the other names tossed around were Riot and Rage. Let's be thankful this station came along when it did, eh? Number 7, he nearly got into a fight with JBL. Here's a fact most people don't know. The beloved JBL was actually a massive bully who used his power to belittle, attack, and victimize his peers. Oh wait, no, everyone knows that. Oh yeah. It's one of the worst kept secrets in WWE. John Bradshaw Layfield's infamous backstage reputation has all but overshadowed his illustrious career. Thankfully, there are also plenty of stories about him getting completely humbled, and this is one of them. Ken Anderson, you know, Mr. Kennedy, discussed this incident on an episode of the Pancakes and Power Slams podcast. According to him, JBL had been hazing Copeland during an overseas tour. After putting up with it for some time, Copeland snapped and confronted him. Anderson alleged that Edge slapped a beer out of the former Bradshaw's hand and said, "Let's go right now, I'm sick of it." In response, Layfield backed down, opting not to aggravate the young wrestler any further. Hearing that one of the most well-liked wrestlers of all time put this bully in his place is more satisfying than seeing a pitch-perfect superkick. Though seeing one of those hit JBL wouldn't be half bad either. Number 6, Bob Holly took him to Wrestler's Court over a toy. The infamous Wrestler's Court was a kangaroo court that allowed co-workers to hash out disputes between themselves. So why did Edge and Christian find themselves staring down the barrel of this practice? Well, it was all because of a Flash action figure. And who said toys are just for kids? Losers, that's who. Edge, Christian, and former WWE writer Brian Gewirtz discussed this hilarious story on Edge and Christian's Pod of Awesomeness. Copeland claimed he gifted a Flash toy given to him by a fan to Gewirtz, knowing he loved the character. Unfortunately, hardcore Bob Holly witnessed this exchange and accused the wrestler of bribing a writer to secure more TV time. Thankfully, Edge was pre-warned that he would be attending the court by an unnamed person he dubbed Burt Angel, wink wink, giving Christian and him time to think of a defense. Rather than taking the court seriously, the pair decided to have some fun and brought in a fake book titled Edge and Christian How to Kiss Ass Our Road to the Top, and claimed they were getting a book deal, something many other top wrestlers were getting at the time. Thankfully, the joke was a smash hit, leaving wrestlers like Holly and Steve Blackman in tears of laughter. Christian even alleged that Triple H told them, "That's the best defense I've ever seen in my life." It's all about the game and how you play it after all. Number 5, he nearly missed No Mercy 1999. No Mercy 1999 was an integral milestone in Adam Copeland's career, as it was the pay-per-view where he and Christian squared off in a tag team ladder match against the Hardy Boys. This iconic bout became the basis for the legendary TLC matches that defined both teams and the Dudley Boys' careers. So the fact he almost missed it due to an act of nature is a bit horrifying. Edge recounted the story of this near miss on his Instagram account in 2021. He claimed to have gotten stuck in Miami the night before the pay-per-view due to a hurricane. The next day, he realized he had to drive through the terrifying storm to catch a flight to Tampa. His flight would get him in for 4 before his match at 7:30, meaning even the slightest delay could have resulted in him missing the event. Naturally, he made it through this troubling time and the match became an instant classic. So the next time you decide to call in sick to work, just remember that Edge drove through a hurricane so as not to miss it. That's dedication, folks. Number 4, Vince McMahon told him he'd be going bald. Ribbing is about as common in the wrestling industry as Harley Quinn cosplayers at Comic-Con. There's an endless sea of hilarious prank stories within WWE, and this one saw Edge come close to losing one of his most iconic features, those luscious golden locks. Burt Angel discussed this prank on an episode of the Kurt Angle Show. In the build-up to the classic hair versus hair match between him and Edge at Judgment Day 2002, McMahon McMahon convinced Edge that he was losing the match and being shaved bald. Yikes, that must be terrible. According to Angle, McMahon pulled Edge into the office and said, "We're gonna have a hair versus hair match, and Angle, you're going over. You're gonna shave Edge's head." This naturally freaked Copeland out, leading him to express his concerns about being bald to Angle. He claimed he was nervous he wouldn't look good bald, stating that his head isn't shaped right. The joke went on until the last minute, with the rib being revealed just before the pair went out. This then led to them having to quickly come up with a new finish. Still, just imagine the relief Edge must have felt. Going bald is awful, isn't it? Number 3, he lost 37 pounds for the final season of Vikings. Any wrestling fans who have watched Vikings will tell you that Adam Copeland deserves plenty of credit for his acting skills. His turn as Kietel Flatnose in the hit History Channel series is one of the most impressive wrestler-turned-actor performances out there, and this story is a testament to his dedication to the part. Per an interview with Winter is Coming, Copeland lost 37 pounds, over 2 stone that is, to film the final season. His character spent the 6th season in turmoil as he was starving, so Copeland chose to reflect this by eating way less than he usually would. "I'd lost 37 pounds for this storyline, so I wasn't eating as much," he said. This diet became a struggle for him when the day came to film one of the character's most physical scenes. Copeland expressed how difficult it was, even claiming that Ray Stevenson, rest in peace, told him, "I'm gonna get you a Snickers, your lips are blue." Despite the hardships, the final performance ended up working perfectly. Still, he called it a challenging day on multiple fronts, and claimed there was only so much Red Bull to get him through it. Number 2, he legitimately injured Jose Estrada in his official WWF debut. You know what they say, first impressions count. So going on TV and accidentally injuring your first televised opponent is not the strongest start. The legendary Edge has proven time and time again that he has impeccable wrestling skills. However, even the best in-ring performers make mistakes. Unfortunately for Adam Copeland, he committed a big one in his 1998 WWF debut against Jose Estrada Jr. During the match, Edge flipped over the ring ropes and landed on Estrada, whacking him with his leg and legitimately injuring him. The referee, Timmy White, turned to Edge and said, "He's out, kid," before starting a 10 count, leading to a deflated victory for the future Hall of Famer. So yes, Edge won his WWF debut match via countout after legitimately hurting his opponent. This certainly isn't the best way to start a wrestling career, especially considering the high caliber of first matches from his future rivals John Cena and The Undertaker. Still, in Copeland's own words, there was nowhere to go but up following this. That's one way of looking at it. Number 1, the Don't Look at Me game. Even in the high-octane world of sports entertainment, people need to find ways to have some extra fun. Whether it's pranks, games, or just goofing about, there are plenty of ways wrestlers have kept themselves occupied throughout the years. For Edge, Christian, and the legendary Stone Cold Steve Austin, their tried and true method was the Don't Look at Me game. The duo discussed this little pastime on an episode of Ian C's Pod of Awesomeness. The rules to the game were simple. One of the wrestlers would go up to another and say, "Don't look at me," and tell them how long for. Then the victim would have to avoid looking at them for that time, as the other would try to get into their eyesight to make them lose the game. The pair described some of the best times they played the game, with one particularly notable example coming in an iconic Attitude Era moment. Christian claimed that while he and Edge were tying Austin to The Undertaker's cross in 1999, he whispered, "Don't look at me," into Austin's ear. This forced the legendary Hall of Famer to avoid eye contact with him whilst being strung up by the Ministry of Darkness. Wonderful stuff.
When it comes to divisive figures in the industry, you can generate both the adoration and the ire of CM Punk. An enigmatic entertainer both in his work and how he conducts himself elsewhere, his legacy outside of the ring is one of butting heads, legal battles, and, well, generating adoration and ire. Because I'm Cy for WhatCulture Wrestling, and these are 10 fascinating WWE backstage facts about CM Punk. Number 10, he got to keep his entrance music. It took him 5 years to get it in the WWE, but when CM Punk finally brought Cult of Personality from Ring of Honor to the market leader, he did so with the intention of never letting it go. This was confirmed on the Drinks with Johnny podcast by Living Colour's lead singer Corey Glover, who second-handedly told the story of a young Punkers Little League team using Cult of Personality as their entrance song from the dugout. According to Glover, Punk was stubborn about keeping a hold of the track rather than assumedly having someone make a sound alike. Obviously, for a time, the Second City Savior did use a Killswitch Engage song originally licensed for Randy Orton, and you should let us know which you prefer as Punk's theme down in the comments below, because I know a lot of people go to bat for this Fire Burns, but apparently Punk was one of the few superstars that got it in writing in his contract that where he goes, Cult of Personality personality goes with him. Which is a good thing too, as we really don't need a Def Rebel knockoff version. Number 9. Beef with Booker T. Booker T's rather recent story about him and CM Punk having a few stern words at an NXT taping were debunked by the Hall of Famer on his own podcast, though it's worth noting he used the same platform to stoke the fires in the first place. He explained that he was mostly just working, noting that it was just for entertainment's sake and asking people not to take it seriously because, in his words, we won't be having a fight. And while that's all good and might be the end of the tale, it's not necessarily the beginning. Punk and Booker have had previous for this sort of thing. Cody Rhodes famously relayed an occasion where Punk asked wrestlers to pick up their trash from his perspective of the so-called locker room leader, leading Booker T to throw his garbage on the floor in protest. You got to wonder if CM Punk responded with, "Now can you pick that up, sucker?" Probably not. Number 8, Shawn Michaels stood up for him. CM Punk and Shawn Michaels looked every bit like old mates reuniting when the Punker made a surprise appearance at NXT Deadline in December 2023, which was all the more surprising considering Punk's open adoration for Shawn's greatest rival in and out of the ring, Bret Hart. Though his bond with HBK might not date back as far as his childhood fandom, Michaels was vital in helping Punk over some early WWE hurdles. Former writer Dave Lagana told the story, noting that he was often in creative meetings where Punk was buried by everybody with stroke other than the Heartbreak Kid himself. Speaking on his I Want Wrestling podcast in 2011 of an event that occurred during 2006 to 2007, he told the story of a creative meeting that turned into one of apparently several CM Punk so-called bash fests. However, Michaels spoke up to interject and politely pointed out, if you don't like something the kid is doing, why don't you work with him to fix it instead of killing him? By this time, Michaels had obviously seen something in Punk he deemed worthy of following up on. Years later, he was on the other side of the aisle. Number 7, before DX loved him, they hated him. With Shawn Michaels as the man that forced management to lean in on what CM Punk offered rather than shooting on him for what he didn't, and Triple H being the one to bring him back to WWE long after Vince McMahon had allegedly placed a blanket ban on it ever occurring, it may appear as though the DX originals were always big into the straight-edge superstar. This was most definitely not the case. Ex-WWE writer Court Bauer spoke candidly about what he experienced backstage during Punk's 2005 tryout, noting that Triple H along with HBK buried CM Punk. They annihilated his look and his work. They were shredding this poor guy. Bauer added that it wasn't just Vince McMahon but also then head of talent relations John Laurinaitis in the room, ensuring that anybody with power thought the absolute least of the future WWE champion. But within 12 months, both Shawn and Hunter were stood in the ring with the ECW newcomer getting nowhere near his reactions at the 2006 Survivor Series. Number 6, he almost returned to WWE before debuting in AEW. CM Punk's March 2024 interview with Ariel Helwani is must-see stuff. Your mileage on everything he says may vary based on what you think about Punk himself, but he's at very least committed to his own version of the truth at all times, including revealing a fascinating nugget about how his recent history could have all been very different. Noting that his 2023 return had a lot to do with an existing relationship with Nick Khan, he explained that the two had discussed Punk returning to the market leader in that year, or at the very least when audiences returned in 2021. The timelines are odd, but certainly not implausible. Punk was adamant that he worked for Fox rather than WWE during his 2019 to 2020 spell as a host on Backstage, and always tried to speak truthfully about what he liked, not much, and what he didn't, a lot, during his time as an analyst. When he did return, it was to AEW, and with more than a little venom directed towards WWE and Vince McMahon. This raises questions, but all of them can be answered with the simple reminder that he's in wrestling to make money more so than he is friends. Actually, speaking of which, number 5, his time got cut on his first night back. Though a long way away from his best work in this WWE run, let alone his prior one, CM Punk's promo on his first night back at Monday Night Raw was perhaps his most anticipated. "Hell froze over" was the caption attached to the picture of him posing with Triple H backstage at the Survivor Series event 2 days earlier. Such was the implausibility of his return for so long. The speculation had been present from the moment he was released by AEW, dating right up to the day before when a new version of Cult of Personality by Living Colour dropped on Spotify, but wrestling being wrestling and Punk being Punk, it simply wasn't real until it happened. On the night itself, Pipe Bomb was only really half right. Unique for how inconsequential it was, save for the closing segments where Punk stared stared down the lens and said off mic that he was back to make money rather than friends. As it transpired, time that night wasn't on his side. In what might have felt like a chilling callback to a different period, Punk was told his time was cut due to other things running over on the show. He had to shorten much of the homecoming sentiment, which itself was almost too bizarre to take seriously so soon after his shocking return. Number 4, he upset The Undertaker. But I mean, who didn't? The self-appointed judge of Wrestlers Court stewarded the locker room with an iron fist and thus was no stranger to having his ire raised. CM Punk sadly fell afoul of this in 2009 though, aiding the ruination of his amazing heel turn on Jeff Hardy and World Heavyweight title success that summer. This particular bone picked by the dead man was in how Punk was dressed back then. Bought in casual attire rather than adhering to the dress code, the new champion allegedly told Taker that he should be free to wear what he wants in the same way that John Cena did. Undertaker disagreed and was offended by Punk's comparison and for simply not doing what he was told. This manifested on screen in the form of their middling program Over the Belt that Punk felt he was doing just fine representing in jeans and a t-shirt. Undertaker beat him handily at Hell in the Cell, setting in motion a period of 2 years before the straight-edge superstar was near a top title again. Number 3, he was supposed to win the 2008 Royal Rumble match. Per the man himself, 2008's Royal Rumble was supposed to be his, though the apparent change of plans might be one worth digging a little deeper into. This revelation emerged during a conversation about the match between Punk and WWE backstage's Renee Young in early 2020. While promoting that year's upcoming Rumble coverage, Punk chipped in to say, I was supposed to win Royal Rumble, but John Cena comes back after 3 months from a torn pec. Thanks a lot, John. The second part is of course accurate. John Cena's shock Madison Square Garden return from the pectoral injury remains one of the pay-per-view's finest moments and indeed one of WWE's best ever surprise returns. The rest feels like a bit of a stretch. Cena ended up in the final 3 alongside Batista and Triple H, with the straight-edge superstar eating an elimination 17 spots from the end. It could have been a throwaway joke, a case of notoriously bad wrestler memory, or Punk getting elements of his own history mixed up, or maybe it was true. Though Cena and ultimately Triple H as well both went to WrestleMania to fight Randy Orton for the richest prize, Punk got his golden opportunity on that show too. He won Money in the Bank there, cashing in on Edge months later to score his first top title in the company. Whether the Rumble was to set the wheels in motion for his big night or not, the company did at least see gold in his near future. Number 2, Conan revealed Punk's relationship with AJ Lee. CM Punk and AJ Lee's worked romance became a shoot at some point during their time together in WWE, but the news breaking to the rest of the world came via the least likely of sources. Speaking on his MLW radio podcast at the time, Conan revealed that, having been backstage at WWE weeks prior, that he'd seen the two of them together. The quote was, I would also like to say that I found out AJ Lee is dating CM Punk. I don't know if that's public knowledge, before it turned out to not be as well known that maybe he assumed. He went on to say that he'd heard others weren't particularly complimentary of the straight-edge superstar, hearing that some had said he had a huge head. He chastised Punk for hating Cena for his ego and then developing one himself, and pointed out that his source in WWE had described the Punker with the word conceited. Well, compared to what others have said about him since, this now feels relatively quaint. And number 1, he tried to ban his mother from attending WWE shows. There have been plenty of stories of CM Punk separating himself from those in his life he no longer wishes to be around, and just as many about the difficult upbringing he sought to escape via pro wrestling when he was growing up. The two coalesced in 2013 when TMZ reported he'd obtained a restraining order against his mother and was working to have her banned from ever attending WWE shows to further maintain that divide. The report noted at the time that Punk filed the order following claims of, quote, repeated financial demands and years of abuse, harassing and threatening behaviour, adding that he claimed to have given his mother more than $100,000 but eventually cut her off. He also shared the content of one from a string of harsh emails, including one that read, you don't give a bleep about us, you just care about your money and your money-hungry / fame-hungry friends. You would sell us for a nickel. It's unknown, or at very least has gone largely unreported since the original filings, if any of the legal documents and measures still remain in place.
Whether you right there are a die-hard Seth freaking Rollins fan or just curious about what really goes on backstage, these behind-the-scenes stories you're about to see reveal a part of the Visionary's career that has largely remained hidden from fans' eyes over the years. So let's get to know this modern-day legend a little bit better, shall we? I'm Gareth, this is WhatCulture Wrestling, and here are 10 backstage stories about Seth Rollins you should know. Number 10, he almost got fired while in NXT. Seth Rollins is one of the most decorated superstars in WWE history, with 16 title reigns to his name at time of recording, along with Money in the Bank and Royal Rumble wins. But he would not have achieved any of these feats if it weren't for the reality check he got from Triple H during his time in NXT. Rollins was already making strides on the independent circuit as Tyler Black, and was a former ROH World Champion when he signed with WWE in 2010. He started with FCW, where he trained and performed until WWE rebranded it into NXT in 2012. He found a mentor in Dusty Rhodes during his time in NXT, and the American Dream advised Rollins to just be himself. But the advice had its pros and cons, as being himself led to Rollins butting heads with trainer Terry Taylor on multiple occasions. When this reached Triple H's ears, he pulled Rollins aside and told him that he didn't see anything special in him, and that he had to start doing things their way and fix his attitude if he intended to stay with WWE. Papa H was not happy. After this interaction, Rollins went to Joey Mercury for some advice, and the latter told him to learn how to play the game and be himself while also being coachable. That's the perfect combo right there. Rollins then adjusted himself to the WWE environment and found himself pitching to Triple H the idea of him becoming the inaugural NXT champion. It worked out pretty well for him after that. Number 9, he broke down in tears during Daniel Bryan's retirement speech. Daniel Bryan's retirement in 2016 shocked the entire pro wrestling world, and there wasn't a single dry eye in the arena when he delivered his heartbreaking retirement speech on the 8th of February 2016 episode of Raw. It was the same scene in Seth Rollins' house as the Visionary revealed that he sobbed like a baby watching Bryan's speech, and it was the same scene in my house too. Rollins and Bryan go way back, even before their time together in WWE. They shared the ring on several occasions in Ring of Honor, both as opponents and partners. They also had a few encounters in WWE during Rollins' time in The Shield and the Authority storyline. Ah, good times, right? While talking to Chris Jericho on his Talk is Jericho podcast, Rollins reminisced about his history with Bryan and expressed his disappointment over not being able to be there in person for him that night, since he was out of action due to a knee injury. Rollins revealed that he fought back tears throughout Bryan's speech, but could not hold them back when Brie Bella joined him in the ring at the end. Yeah, that's the one that did it. However, Daniel Bryan did not give up on his dreams and continued to fight for them, which resulted in him getting cleared to compete in 2018. And he and Seth Rollins competed against each other for the first time since his return in a tag team match at the 2018 Tribute to the Troops event. I wonder what happened to Daniel Bryan after that, eh? Look, that was a pretty emotional wrestling retirement, but I want to know right now, what is the wrestling retirement that made you cry the most? Yes, you can include people that came out of retirement as well, because that's just what happens in wrestling, isn't it? Let me know in the comments. Number 8, beef with Matt Riddle. Former WWE United States champion Matt Riddle is known for getting himself in trouble by running his mouth. It's just what he does. He's managed to piss off wrestlers like Brock Lesnar and Goldberg over the years, but things were a bit different with Seth Rollins, as he got in the Visionary's crosshairs due to some comments Riddle's ex-wife made about Rollins' wife, Becky Lynch. Riddle's then-wife, Lisa, made a social media post with some disparaging comments about the female WWE superstars' bodies, and singled out Becky Lynch to make her point. The post did not sit well with Seth Rollins, understandably, who made it clear to WWE that he was not open to working with Riddle. However, the two superstars eventually sorted things out after Riddle apologized to Rollins backstage, which led to the two superstars letting bygones be bygones and working together in an entertaining feud in mid-2022. They had 3 matches during their rivalry, including a fight pit match at Extreme Rules 2022, with former UFC heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier as the special guest referee. Remember that? It feels like a decade ago. And despite being the heel, Rollins emerged victorious in the rivalry after a successful United States Championship defense against Riddle on the 17th of October 2022 episode of Raw. Number 7, he almost brawled with Cody Rhodes backstage. After leaving WWE in 2016 due to creative differences over the Stardust character, Cody Rhodes reinvented himself on the independent circuit and became one of the most influential stars in the pro wrestling industry by ostensibly co-founding All Elite Wrestling. However, he couldn't stay away for long as he returned to WWE in 2022 with the sole intention of finishing his story. And the first opponent he defeated to move one step closer to his dream was Seth Rollins. Following their match at WrestleMania 38, WWE wasted no time in establishing Rhodes as their new face, which ruffled some feathers backstage, including Seth Rollins. Rollins believed since he put in the work and was the company's workhorse throughout the time Rhodes was out doing his own thing, he should have been the one to receive that opportunity. I mean, fair enough. Look, this kind of competition has been persistent in a pro wrestling locker room for ages, and it was the same for Rollins and Rhodes. But Rhodes revealed that the competition created legitimate animosity between the two stars at the time, and they came close to having a physical altercation backstage. However, like the professionals they are, they sorted things out in the end, and managed to work together in one of the most colossal tag team matches in history against Roman Reigns and The Rock at WrestleMania 40. And Rollins played a vital role in Rhodes dethroning Reigns as the undisputed WWE champion. Number 6, he got some heat for not shaking hands properly with the veterans. So, a pro wrestling locker room is not like any regular workplace, and it used to have some pretty harsh and outlandish rules. And while the rules might have eased up a bit over the years, the newcomers are still expected to adhere to some old school conventions, which include paying your dues and respecting veterans and co-workers. Seth Rollins found himself violating the latter when he got some backstage heat for not shaking hands with the other wrestlers. Tut tut. It appears that the unwritten code in WWE for wrestlers is to shake hands with their co-workers and veterans every single time they bump into each other backstage, or pretty much every time. However, the Shield, particularly Rollins, violated this code on multiple occasions around 2013 by not shaking hands or just not doing it right. Not sure how you do that wrong, but okay. Rollins also got some heat with Randy Orton and The Big Show during this time, which resulted in him being in Vince McMahon's bad books for a while. The Shield didn't get punished on television, but Rollins continued to have backstage heat for some time until things finally calmed down. Now he gets a different kind of heat, the pyro in his entrance. I make myself laugh. If you're enjoying this backstage story list, then hit that subscribe button down below for more of these What Culture Wrestling videos in your life. What a life that is. Number 5, Vince McMahon banned Rollins from wearing his iconic white gear. Seth Rollins scored one of the biggest victories of his career at SummerSlam 2015 when he defeated John Cena to retain his WWE Championship and win the latter's United States Championship. Apart from the match and Rollins becoming a double champion, the white in-ring gear he sported at the events became a sensation among pro wrestling fans. I mean, you can see why. It was gorgeous. You might love wearing all these weird and wonderful gears to the ring today, but none of them compare to the popularity of his SummerSlam 2015 white attire. WWE even posted behind-the-scenes footage of wrestlers complimenting the look, with Brie Bella predicting his Messiah gimmick 4 years early, and his future wife Becky Lynch eyeballing him like a prize, love in her eyes. However, Vince McMahon saw things differently and banned Rollins from wearing the white gear again. Rollins answered a fan's question about the white attire during a meet and greet, and revealed that McMahon didn't like it, and called him a weird old man for not understanding that the people think it was the coolest gear they have ever seen. The video went viral for a while before it then got taken down by the original account. I wonder why. Number 4, heat with Ric Flair. To be the man, you gotta beat the man. But apparently there has to be only one man. Or at least that's how WWE Hall of Famer Ric Flair felt when Becky Lynch started using the man moniker. Flair decided to take things a bit too far and threaten legal action against WWE over Lynch using the nickname, and filed a trademark for the term the man, claiming that he's been using the moniker since the 1980s. WWE had to settle things with Flair out of court, and the latter transferred the rights to the term in May 2020. The controversy even created a rift between Ric and his daughter Charlotte Flair, and Becky Lynch's husband Seth Rollins took offense to the 16-time time world champion's deeds. Speaking on Busted Open Radio, Ric Flair talked about the backstage heat he very much had with Seth Rollins following his legal battle with WWE and Becky Lynch. Rollins was reportedly upset with Flair over the entire ordeal, and even walked past him at an autograph session. The drama. However, the legend put an end to the controversy when he apologized to Becky Lynch backstage during the Raw XXX special episode on the 23rd of January 2023, or Raw 30th, whatever the hell it's called. For a minute there though, Rollins and Becky did not get on with Nate. Number 3, the heist of the century was his idea. Seth Rollins had the greatest WrestleMania moment of his entire career when he cashed in his Money in the Bank contract during the main event WWE Championship match between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 31, and walked out as the new champion. Michael Cole famously described the moment as the heist of the century, as Rollins did the unthinkable by outsmarting the two powerhouses to claim his first world championship in WWE. And while talking to Edge and Christian on the E&C Pod of Awesomeness, Rollins revealed that he was actually the one who pitched the idea to have the cash-in take place during the WrestleMania 31 main event. Rollins revealed that he pitched the idea to Triple H at the end of 2014 and asked him to keep it as a contingency plan if the WrestleMania main event didn't come together how the company had envisioned. The WWE creative team decided to go with the idea a few days before WrestleMania 31, but did not let Rollins, Lesnar, or Reigns know until the day of the event. Rollins put over Randy Orton earlier in the show with that famous RKO, how could we forget, before then getting the news that he was going to win the WWE Championship in the main event. What a night for Seth, eh? Number 2, he wanted to strangle Vince McMahon after his Hell in a Cell match against The Fiend. Seth Rollins' worst match in WWE to date has to be the Hell in a Cell showdown against The Fiend at the titular pay-per-view in 2019. Oh boy. The fact that WWE chose to end the contest via referee stoppage went against everything that Hell in a Cell stood for, and the fans didn't shy away from showing their displeasure and booed Seth Rollins out of the building. While talking to Stone Cold Steve Austin on the Broken Skull sessions, Rollins revealed that his vision for the match was different from what WWE wanted, and that he was, well, a bit disappointed with the creative direction the company went with. He stated that he was ready to strangle Vince McMahon backstage, and that Tyson Kidd, who was one of the producers, had to hold him back. After a brief conversation with Paul Heyman, the creative director of Raw at the time, Rollins went to McMahon's office the next day to figure out how to take things further. Rollins was at the top of his game as a babyface by that time, and the result of the Hell in a Cell mess got him nuclear heat from the crowd. They didn't like Seth anymore. WWE went into damage control mode from here and booked Rollins to drop the title to The Fiend at the 2019 Crown Jewel pay-per-view. Yeah, 2019 was a weird old time. Number 1, getting the curb stomp unbanned. WWE superstars might have a plethora of moves in their arsenal to showcase during their matches, but the company does not permit them to do certain maneuvers that might cause severe damage to the recipients. WWE have banned wrestlers from performing moves like the diving headbutt and the classic pile driver over concerns of them being too dangerous, and the company added Seth Rollins' curb stomp to that list in 2015. However, there was a bit more to this story, as Vince McMahon decided to ban the move after seeing a video package of Seth Rollins using the finisher on the Today Show, as he didn't like how it made the company's world champion look too cruel. Another reason behind the ban was the concern over kids replicating the move, as a single mishap could cause serious injury to anyone. So could any bloody WWE finisher, to be fair. After the ban, Rollins experimented with the high knee, a variation of the underhook DDT, and the pedigree as his finishers until he convinced Vince McMahon to let him use the curb stomp again in 2018. Rollins revealed in an interview that he explained to McMahon that bringing back the curb stomp would be ideal in a way he could understand, which resulted in him using the move in a match against Finn Balor on the 15th of February 2018 episode of Raw. Glad he stuck with it because his pedigree sucks. Sorry Seth, I love you, I just don't like how you do that move. Now, if you enjoyed this backstage story video, then check out the 10 hilarious backstage wrestling stories you probably didn't know list that we've got right here too. You're gonna love it. Thank me later.